All right. Let me share my screen with you guys. So we're going to go over kind of where we're at again. We normally do. So we have done all of this. And I think Jules talked to you guys about maybe doing some skills, some of you at some point here. Um, but tonight we're going to do chapter 28 with operations and chapter 29 is incident command, which is where your NIMS 100 and 700 fit in. So if you haven't gotten those to me, please get those to me. There's still a few outliers out there. And then next week will be our last week. Chapter 30 is special operations and 31 with terrorism and natural disasters. So tonight we will be doing 28 and 29. Let's bring up 28. These are both fairly short, so which will be nice for you guys. All right, so 28 is operations. So in this one, let me share my screen. Was it sharing? Where'd it go? Popped off on me. Yeah, 1 second. There we go. Talking to myself. Right. Let me share 29 or 28. All right, you guys can see chapter 28 there. Hopefully. So 28 is operations. So with this one, we're going to talk about apparatus and equipment readiness. And this isn't so much like, this is a lot of ambulance stuff on here, but also just making sure a lot of first responder agencies, like you have your private vehicles, just making sure that's ready. Actually responding to an emergency call, PPE, and then scene management. And I'm assuming you guys watched the video link that I sent out to the YouTube video for Minnesota first responder stuff, which they do a really good job on that video. So that's a lot of what this chapter is kind of wrapped up. So with this, just being ready as a first responder, we're gonna drive daily in our lives, right? So arriving for shifts on time, reporting on time. It depends on what you're doing. If you're working on a crew, or most first responder agencies are responding from home. So if you're actually on a crew that you're working a shift, you go in, you're ready for it. You're making sure that your vehicle or apparatus is safe to operate, it's stocked with everything that you need to start your shift off. Personal first responder bags, like when you get on an agency, they give you a first responder bag. You are responsible for maintaining that first responder bag. So just making sure your bag is ready all the time. It's filled with what it needs and all of that. When you're dispatched to a call, we confirm that call, we plan the route, and respond in a safe manner. We'll talk more about each of these things as well. When we arrive on scene, we take our proper PPE, personal protective equipment, BSI, body substance isolation, standard precautions, keep ourselves safe. And once we get on scene, we're going to be interacting with other agencies, law enforcement, fire departments, other EMS personnel, the community. And then providing emergency care to your patients, and then transferring the care to a higher level of EMS, who will then transport that patient to the hospital. So that's kind of the point of this whole chapter, is kind of wrapping all this up. So apparatus and readiness. This is again, if some agencies do have first responders on like their ambulance services and stuff, but just ensuring at the beginning of every shift that your apparatus and equipment are ready to respond at a moment's notice. Usually it's usually the shift before you has done a rig check as well. We do rig checks every day on some of the services, some of them don't. Just knowing that you have your stuff ready in your kit that you need is kind of the point of this part of this chapter. So also ensuring equipment is functioning properly and ready to respond to calls. So if you have an oxygen tank in your first responder bag, it actually has oxygen in it. It's got the regulator on it, it's ready to go. And then following department protocols for replacing missing items. Usually if you go on a call and you use something, you then go to the hall and restock kind of thing, just so you're ready. You have everything you need. So inspection wise, this is things you can think about for your personal vehicles as well, as an ambulance service, or if you're on a fire department. But just doing a quick walk around, making sure the tire pressure is good, checking the engine oil, power steering fluid, transmission fluid, just maintaining your vehicles. There are some agencies out there that won't let you be on the service unless you have a reasonable vehicle, just so you can get to the calls. Fuel level, just making sure you're not on empty. I usually try to top mine off when it's half a tank or less, or a quarter tank or less, just because I'm up in Ely, and if we get a call to Lake One and I have an eighth of a tank, I might not get back to town with my truck with that. So just making sure that you're ready to go. All your lights are working, headlights, turn signals, backup lights. If you have any kind of other lights on your personal vehicles as well, but siren emergency lights would be more for like the apparatus for agencies. Communications equipment, making sure you have your radio, your portable, your equipment, your medical equipment's ready, and all your safety equipment is ready. So there's things to think about for your private vehicle as well. That's the same as this one. So just having it ready. Responding to a call. This is the video I had you guys watch, the Scene Safe video training program for Minnesota first responders, and that's put on. Um, it's from 2013, but they do a really good job explaining like parking and things that you're going to be seeing out in the field and based out of where we live. So hopefully you guys watch that one. If you didn't, pop back on your email and watch that video. It's a good one. So when we're responding to an emergency call, we're going to make every effort to ensure our safety and the safety of our partner, other responders, the general public that's out there. We drive with the due regard of the safety of others. Just keep that in mind. If there's a stop sign, stop at it. Ensure that your apparatus is working safe prior to our arrival, so we can arrive on scene safely. As a safe response to the scene, it is dependent upon lots of factors out there, including dispatch, directions that you're given, looking up your driving skills, safety precautions that you take. So again, the legal standard for emergency vehicle operation is with due regard for the safety of others. So this means that when you're operating a vehicle, you have to take into account the safety of the public, not just the emergency to which you are responding to. So you should drive only as fast as safety allows, regardless of your lights and sirens, the nature of the emergency. If it's snowing and you can go 5 miles an hour. I mean, we just got to do that. If you pass vehicles, pass them slowly. Allow the driver in front time to react for them to pull over. Intersections are the biggest danger that we face. So we want to proceed slowly, even if the light is green. Stop completely at all red lights. Just get there safely. Slow down if you need to. Size up the scene once you get there. Do your 360. Look for hazards before you charge in there, especially on scenes like motor vehicle collisions, stuff like that. You just want to make sure you're safe before you go in. Warning lights. When responding to emergency, you want to turn on emergency lights and sirens to alert other drivers and pedestrians of their presence. Lights and siren make you more visible. However, some drivers distracted by loud music, noise in their vehicles, they're still not going to hear you potentially. The emergency lights and a siren do not give us the right of way in traffic. The legal standard for the emergency vehicle operation, again, with due regard to others, safety of others. So that means we need to keep that into account. If we're involved in a collision, most of the time it's at an intersection while we're responding to an emergency, and it's our fault that we did that. We can be held civilly and criminally liable for that. So just slow down, get to where you need to go in a safe manner. There are certain calls that are more tense than others, and I get that, but just get there safely. While we're responding to an emergency, you're going to come across some aggressive drivers potentially. This may be someone who's trying to outrun you. Sometimes people tailgate you. This happens through traffic. If someone's trying to outrun you, slow down, allow them to get ahead of you. If someone's tailgating you, we can shut off the lights and sirens. Notify dispatch, law enforcement can be notified as well. We can continue our response and they can come up and deal with that situation. When we're responding, we may find ourselves driving above the posted speed limit, which a lot of states limit how much faster that we can drive above that posted speed limit as an emergency vehicle. So follow local laws. Sometimes traffic will make driving too fast dangerous, even if the speed is within our legal range. In those cases, slow down, ensure a safe response to that. And it depends on what state you're in for some of this stuff. Minnesota, I think it's like 10 or 15 above the posted speed limit if your lights and sirens. or you got your flashers on, or whatever you're doing, as long as you're doing it and with safety of others in mind here. Weather conditions, again, like I mentioned earlier, also is going to govern how fast that you drive. So if it's raining and stormy, you can't really see, slow down. If it's snowing and you can go 10 miles an hour to a call, you're going to have to do that. I've been there. Just get there safely. You don't want to be another responder that they have to respond to, or make yourself another patient. Minimize distractions while you're driving. We shouldn't be talking on cell phones, sending text messages. Those are hazards when we're driving. New technologies like the mobile data terminals that are in these vehicles send and receive data to the command center or communication center. Those can also be a distraction. It does incorporate GPS mapping software, but a lot of times what I'll do is I'll get the page and I'll immediately put that address into my phone, into my Google Maps, and it's at least give it a start location and kind of figure out where I'm going to start with and end up. So I always look at the directions kind of before I get going, so I'm not looking at my phone like at least the whole time while I'm going to a call. Set the directions to drive me there. And not that Google has all the answers to it, because there are some addresses that don't pop up sometimes, and you got to figure it out. But if you're with a couple people, let your partner that's not driving do that stuff. When we're passing a vehicle, want to approach a vehicle from behind and we want to pass it, just slow down, don't tailgate them. Allow time for the vehicle to react again. Allow time to pass. When passing, remember to check the road ahead and only proceed if it's safe to do that. Intersections, this is the most frequent location for collisions. So when we approach an intersection, we should slow down, even if the light is green, make sure it's a safe crossing. Red light, stop at the light. Check both directions, make eye contact with each driver if possible. Think about, like, we live in rural areas, but think about bigger towns where there's multiple lanes of traffic going through. So you want to clear every lane as you go by, not just the first lane, because what if somebody's coming up behind and doesn't see that person stop because they don't see you, and all of a sudden they crash into you and you're going through the red light, and it's going to be a whole situation and lots of paperwork. So, and potentially injuries. So clear every lane as you go through on both sides, making that eye contact with the drivers, and then kind of fully go through when you're done. Parking, when we approach a scene, using that 360-degree survey, looking in all directions for hazards like down power lines, fluid leaking from vehicles, entrapments, that kind of thing. If the incident that you are responding is in a roadway, you may need to park in a defensive manner if you're the first apparatus there or vehicle there, placing your vehicle between where you're going to be working on scene and the oncoming traffic so that your vehicle acts as the shield between you and that approaching traffic, which is what the fire truck is doing in this picture right here. So usually the first vehicle there kind of puts in that position to protect that scene. For PPE, put on what you think you need to put on for the nature of that call. The call is going to dictate the type of protective equipment that you find necessary. The American National Standards Institute, or ANSI, ANC or ANSI, mandates the use of that either level 2 or level 3 safety vest that we're required to use, and that's by ANSI. And it's going to be an ANSI approved vest. I think they're level 3 now that we're up to. For anyone conducting operations on at least a federally funded roadway as well, or for anybody that wants federal funding, they need to wear that. So that's why we wear those safety vests on the side of the road, as well as keeping ourselves protected. Beware of fatigue. Fatigue can limit a provider's ability to respond and act properly as well. So taking the standard precautions before you approach the scene from your vehicle, at least put on your PPE. So gloves, your safety vest is a minimum for the side of the road. When we're responding to motor vehicle collisions, again, if you're helping with extrication, maybe putting on turnout gear if you have that, or putting on stuff that's going to protect you, that whatever dictates the situation that you're in, put the safety stuff on. All right, scene management. So when managing emergency scenes, it's a priority for everybody. So see something, say something, right? We've talked about this a little bit before, and I'm sure you've heard that before. We want to make sure the scene is safe first. Be alert at all times because scenes can become unsafe. If at any time the scene becomes unsafe, immediately leave and don't return until it's safe again. We're going to use situational awareness for this. Identify safety concerns. Things can be dynamic at emergency scenes, so just keep your head on a swivel. Use that situational awareness. Approach all scenes carefully. Use law enforcement when necessary, and take seriously any gut feelings that you have. If you're like, this doesn't feel right, kind of maybe go with that. An appropriate transfer of care to another provider requires transferring information as well. That's part of scene management. So always delivering that full report with your patient, having in that professional manner to the EMTs that are coming on scene, giving them all the information that they need. For residential scenes, we're responding to these, pay particular attention to dispatch information. Trauma-related dispatch codes are often related to assault, shooting, stabbings, domestic violence. There might be some kind of code that they put in there. Be sure that law enforcement has secured the scene before we approach. If they say to stage in an area, we should be doing that, not going right into the scene. So if law enforcement has not arrived or has not secured the scene, stage in a safe area where everybody else is at. Just listen to your radio. You don't want to be that one responder going in and all of a sudden it's not a safe scene. And we've seen things in the news, right, in Idaho and Normanna Township, just northeast of Duluth. It's getting closer to home with this stuff, so I'm sure there'll be some classes coming up on kind of keeping ourselves safe in these situations and not going in alone on certain things. So just remember that scenes can change. Just stay alert for that. Do your 360-degree survey at the scene as you approach, looking for those hazards. Hazards exist, stop and radio the appropriate additional resources in there. If you think you need law enforcement, get them coming. If you think you need fire, get them coming, etc. Be aware of suspicious individuals. So anyone who gives you that uneasy feeling, one thing that can't be taught is something that is your gut instinct, right? So listen to it. Upon entering a scene, be aware of your surroundings and also identify your exits. So don't just walk into a residence and you're like, where's the door? How do I get back out? Don't allow yourself to be cut off from that. So at the patient's side, gather information from that patient, family, or bystanders that you need about that call. Sometimes the bystanders and family can interfere with patient care. In those cases, we can get law enforcement involved as well to diffuse that situation. If anyone on the scene poses a risk to your partner, just exit the scene, wait for backup to come before re-entering in there. So we don't want to be in one of those situations. For transferring care, when we're doing this, us as the responding EMS personnel, when the ambulance gets there, we're going to give them a report, patient sample history, emergency care that we provided, last set of vital signs, just so they have an idea of kind of what's going on. So we're transferring relevant information from us to the paramedics, EMTs about that patient. We're not going to be offended if they come in and they're not questioning our ability to collect information. And if they start doing patient care from where we did it, that's what they're trained to do. So they're not questioning what you're doing. They're just doing additional patient contact with that patient. So they're going to be maybe asking some more detailed questions and stuff like that. So after the paramedics or EMTs have assessed and stabilized the patient, they may ask you to assist with moving the patient to the ambulance for transport. Sometimes they might ask you to hop in the back of the ambulance and help them. It depends on what the situation is. I know, like when we run codes up here, I'd love to have first responder in there helping me out. They can do the BVM. There's lots of things as a first responder that we can do in the back of an ambulance. So that will happen in some of these rural areas as well. It's not just handing over the patient with words so much as like handing over the patient and then kind of doing what they need us to do to whatever's best for the patient at that time. So we are interacting with other responders. We deal a lot with law enforcement. We deal a lot with other agencies, fire departments, all that stuff. So we will be acting professional and courteous. We are representing our department that we're through. You guys are representing Jules and In-Home Harmony Corps. So just keep that in mind of we're representing people as well. So we don't want to make those people look bad. All right, so during the vehicle inspection, you find that your radio is not working. Don't go on the call, right? Just don't go on the call. No, talk to or take the vehicle out of service and notify your supervisor. The other thing that you could do, if this is a vehicle inspection and it's in the radio, if the radio is in the vehicle, that's your mobile radio, right? So automobile, mobile radio. You could also grab a portable radio and use that. It's kind of what I tell people. Like you have the option to use a portable radio as well. As long as you have a radio with you, um, if you're alone on a scene, have your radio. If you have a partner, at least one of you guys have a radio. Like at least somebody on scene have a radio, so you're in contact with dispatch. Otherwise, if they can't get a hold of you and they're doing a status check, they're going to be sending all the law enforcement in the world out to you, and you're just fine, just not answering the radio. So that is a thing as well. Upon inspection of an oxygen tank or oxygen equipment, you see the tank's pressure is under 500. We talked a little bit about this when we did. We're going through like the other equipment, oxygen. Usually tanks at 500 are in that red zone on the regulator. So 500 or less usually is when we replace the tank. So we want to change the tank out immediately if it's under 500. Some places are more, some places are usually not less. 500 is usually the minimum. So just keep that in mind. If you are carrying your own oxygen tank and you're with an agency, when you get to 500, go switch it out. Safety is the responsibility of everybody, right? Everybody on scene, see something, say something, keep everybody safe. If you're seeing it, maybe somebody else isn't seeing it because they're focused on something else, just speak up. And then the most dangerous place to be while driving emergency traffic is intersections. Nighttime, yes. Oncoming traffic, of course. Leaving a station, hopefully people are slowing down. But intersections are the most dangerous. All right. That's kind of a short one. And that video kind of wraps up most of that. So you could always watch that video again too. So let me get rid of that on my screen. Share my screen again. We'll get to 29. All right, 29 is scene management. So this is pretty much what ICS 100 and 700 are about. That's why we make you do them, and as well as me having your certificate for 7 years after you do it, so I can prove that you did it. But this is National Incident Management System and the Incident Command System we'll talk about. So one of the more dynamic aspects of emergency care that we do as a responder, we never know when, where, or what the next call is going to be, which kind of makes it fun too, I think. For me, it does anyway. Providers sometimes talk about the big one, the incident that will tax everybody, all the abilities of the resources, like the bus accident in Cherry. That kind of taxed Cherry if they were calling everybody else in. So that's kind of the closest one up here that we've had recently. Regardless of the cause of an event like that, there's a lot of resources that are organized in a systematic method of managing those resources that's required. So providing and operating an incident management system is critical on these larger scale incidences, and we can use them on smaller scale stuff as well. So working within that framework of the incident command system and within the National Incident Management System, or NIMS, as a first responder, we can hold a variety of roles and functions as long as we have the basic grasp of kind of how this concept works. So NIMS, the National Incident Management System, was federally mandated in 2003 by President George W. Bush in Homeland Security Presidential Directive 5, Management of Domestic Incidences. Former President Bush directed the Secretary of Homeland Security to develop and administer this system. NIMS formed a unified structure for public and private entities to work together in all types of incidences. We all know what's going on. It's all a common language. Nobody's using their own system. It's centered on the concepts of preparing for, responding to, and recovering from major incidences that happen. All federal agencies and any agency receiving federal preparedness support have to implement the use of NIMS systems. So any system not utilizing the NIMS ICS system is not eligible for federal funding or reimbursement when responding to a domestic incident. So if any agency wants federal funding for anything or grant opportunities, they need to have this, which is why EMSRB, or the Office of EMS now, requires us to have this before I can certify you guys. So again, it's the concept of preparing for, responding to, and recovering from major incidences, and we use it for all kinds of stuff. Police department up here uses the incident command system for the marathon that we have up here. We have a little incident action plan for that. We use it for Blueberry Arts Festival, so it works really well for all these little things as well. This is a video for NIMS, the success. It's about 8 minutes. Let's see if I can play it. This is Minneapolis Responds. This is about the Minneapolis bridge collapse. See if it'll work here. Maybe it won't. That's why I send out these in an email. Let's do this. I'm going to stop screen share because this is kind of a good video. I'm going to bring up the video on my computer and see if I can get it to play. It's a very dramatic video. All right, can you guys see that? Somebody yell, yeah. Okay, I'm going to play it. If you can't hear the sound, let me know.
No sound.
No sound. Okay. I'll send that out in the email that I send you guys tomorrow. It's actually a good one. It's like 8 minutes. It's not long, which is why I've been
It
kind of
was in the
sending.
last one too.
What? Oh, do you guys watch this one already?
It was in the last one.
Oh, perfect. Okay, I'm glad I sent that. I think that's why I sent it. I was worried about the sound situation. So perfect. So that's that one. It is a good video. It's very dramatic. Okay, that's why tonight's going quicker because all these videos I have in here, I sent out the link for them. So the NIMS system has 6 major components in it. Command and management. I'm trying to get this off my screen here. Preparedness, resource management, communication and information management, supporting technologies, and ongoing management and maintenance. We'll kind of go through some of these a little bit. So command and management. So we're going to go through each one of these. Command and management. The command of NIMS is based on 3 systems. So it's got the incident command system that is defining an operational structure, operation, and direction during an event. Multi-agency coordinating system. So this is defining the interaction organization of supporting groups and agencies. So multi-agency meaning like law enforcement, fire, EMS. Public information systems. This is communicating systems and procedures to the public. Usually there's like a PIO or a public information officer on scene. Those are the people that are coordinating with what we should be telling the public during these incidences. Preparedness. This is a component is generally undertaken prior to the incident. It involves planning, training, exercising, like being prepared for some of this stuff. Obviously, as it's preparedness. So planning, analyzing what equipment and personnel are available, also looking where hazards are and or what potential incidences may occur and planning for those. Like Cherry had the bus accident. That could happen in Ely. What do we need to do for planning for that? Training, educating on incident command, incident management, and multi-agency cooperation interaction. So a lot of times we do trainings together, like Ely Ambulance and Morse Fall Lake. As a first responder, we'll do trainings together because we work together a lot. So just training with other agencies as well. Exercising, so multi-jurisdictional drills to test the system in place. Some of this you'll see like when they do like at some of the schools they'll do like a bus accident or they'll do like a car accident and stage everything and have everybody come in and show the kids what's happening, what they're doing, and that kind of thing. So things like that can be done. Personnel qualifications and certifications, so just ensuring management and responding personnel meet national standards and are officially certified, which is what you guys are when you're done with NIMS 100 and 700. Equipment acquisition and certification, so ensuring responding personnel have the equipment management or equipment necessary that's inoperable with other jurisdictions as well. So example of that one would be like our AEDs that we carry as a first responder for Morse. We can leave the pads on somebody and unplug them and plug them into the ambulance Zoll. So we don't have to like be ripping pads off, putting new pads on. Things are interoperable. We can do the same thing when we get to the hospital. We just unplug it and plug it into the hospital system, just making it more efficient for the patient in those situations. Mutual aid, ensuring the means of assisting other jurisdictions with resources, services, and support during incidences. So like up here in Ely, we had needed mutual aid for our ambulance service, first responder agencies. It would be Babbitt next, and then Tower, and then Virginia. We're kind of going through the list as they go, trying to get people here. And then publications management is just developing and publishing standardized forms for use during these incidences. So check in, check out, things that we can use that are standardized. For resource management, this is creating methods to inventory, disperse, track, and return resources during and after an incident. So we bring something to that incident, we check it in, we get that equipment back when they're done with it. So it's going to range from personnel to equipment, helicopters, generators. They're tracking all of this stuff. So when this comes into these come into play, obviously when you have bigger incidences going on for a longer period of time, you're getting equipment in. So. Communication and information management. This component sets up processes for collecting, interpreting, and disseminating information to incident managers and those impacted by the incident. So this is just communicating with the personnel on scene, the incident commander, and then eventually out to the public. Supporting technologies is a component. It's designed to ensure that communication systems, the voice or data, are functional and operable. So that component is also responsible for record keeping and obtaining any specialized technologies that may be required during an incident. So this would be like radio communications, making sure everybody's on the same channel or there's channels that we can use from different agencies. I know like some of you guys have already been EMRs, etc. That like up here we have um, for our radio channel for fire and EMS, it's FE2. FE1, that's North St. Louis County. FE1 is South St. Louis County. So we don't really have that on our radios a lot because we're not in South St. Louis County. So we're using FE2. There's talk groups that we can use like FE3, FE4. There's STAC, which is talking to the helicopter. There's all these radio channels we can use. So this is the supporting technologies, making sure it's functional, it's interoperable. So law enforcement can talk to us, we can talk to fire can, so we can all kind of talk to each other on the same radio system. And then ongoing management and maintenance. This component was designed for long-term organization in order to refine and review the NIMS system. So just looking at what we've done in the past and adding to it new things or reviewing the processes, just making sure it's going smoothly. All right, ICS. So this one incident command system is part of the NIMS. It's used in a command and management portion of it. It's an organizational method designed the same in any region, any type of response. It can be best set up in advance, like a planned event. We can use it for unplanned disasters. We can use it for just about anything. So the ICS is a management system designed to ensure provider safety, organize resources, and expand and contract depending on the size of the incident that's going on. The incident management command structure is going to adapt and adjust to the size of the incident. At all times, the span of control is going to remain manageable. Span of control, and we'll talk about that a little bit. A lot of components going into this where you don't want to be overwhelmed for these certain stages. Advantages of this, common terminology, position titles, resource descriptions, they're all defined regardless of department rank or status. Incident, sorry, incident commander, section chief, team leader, staging officer, they're all common terminology. Third chain of command, there's a person in charge making the overall decisions of the incident, which is the incident commander. Unified command, this is agencies work together to establish goals and make decisions. You have unity of command, which is responder report to only one supervisor. So a lot of times you'll have unity of like, okay, you're here with EMS, this is the person you're talking to. You're here with law enforcement, this is the person you're talking to. You're here with fire, this is the person you're talking to. The top people you're talking to are talking to each other. That's a unified command. Manageable span of control. Each supervisor is responsible for no more than 3 to 7 elements at a time. Um, if it gets more than 7, it gets very chaotic. They're trying to do all these different things. So 3 to 7 elements is kind of the goal we want for that span of control. The structure of the incident command system, which this should look familiar to you guys. You've done these. So you have the incident commander. They bear the overall responsibility of the incident. Operations, these people carry out all incident objectives. Examples on these: directs the search team to search a certain area for a missing child. So they're carrying out all the incident objectives. What do we need to do? This is what we need to do. They go and do it. Planning, does the plans incident objectives in cooperation with the incident commander. Like, what do we have? What do we need coming up to do? Logistics provides, you got to be nice to these people. Logistics gives you food. So it provides resources to carry out an incident objective. So requesting a helicopter to drop off, providing your food for you, all of that. So be nice to logistics. Finance and administration, these are the people that are tracking resources from mobilization or when they start coming towards that incident to demobilization, which was when they're done with that incident and going home. And they provide an accounting of the cost of the incident as well. And they're the ones that are going to be paying your department for this or you for this. I sent this video out too. I think I didn't send one of these videos out because it's the same as. Anyway, watch the videos I sent out. Those are the good ones. For flow of ICS, first on scene assumes role of incident commander. So you could be an incident commander. You're a first responder. You get on scene. You're the first one there. It's a big scene. You're the one qualified to do it. You're the incident commander now. If you're the first person there, you assume that role. Request additional resources and equipment as needed. As more resources arrive, you will exceed your span of control. Remember, 3 to 7 is kind of that ballpark. Start naming others responsible for different sections, such as operations or logistics. As the incident continues, you may need to divide a section into 2 or more divisions. Example, at a motor vehicle collision that covers both sides of the interstate, have operations division set up a side for each side. So you have like the north side operation or division, south side division, that kind of thing to make up that section. You'll most likely be working in a group once the incident is established, but we need to be familiar with all aspects of ICS because as a first responder, you may need to fill any of those roles in. Once the person that's higher qualified than you comes on scene, you can hand that off to them. So to better understand ICS, ICS 100 and 700, this is why that's required. Because we could take on any of those roles. Not that you want to be on scene as a incident commander at one of those big events, but it might happen. All right, so ICS, again, Incident Command System is an expandable or collapsible system that focuses on goals and objectives, utilizes common terms to refer to its officers. NIMS, the National Incident Management System, is a unified structure for public and private entities to work together to respond in all types of domestic incidences. Unified Command is all agencies working together to establish goal and make decisions. Incident commander is the person who bears overall responsibility for that incident. So in order to receive federal funding for response to domestic incidences, we have to utilize the NIM system. That is true. We have to do that if we want to get money. So most agencies do that because they want to get the money. Who is responsible for ensuring that all agencies, both public and private, adopt and utilize the NIMS ICS guideline? This one is going to be, this was put out by Homeland Security. So Homeland Security is the guiding principle for that. What is considered the best range for span of control? 1 to 3 is great. 3 to 7 elements is the span of control. Answer for this one, they like you to be in the 1 to 3, but 3 to 7 is kind of the ultimate span of control that we talked about. Which branch of ICS provides the objectives for the incident? Objectives is planning. Operations is going to go and do those objectives. Logistics is going to give you food and order all your equipment. And finance and administration is going to pay you and keep track of everything. All right. Both really short ones tonight. I know because we got a little longer last week too, so. All right, you guys awake? Beth, you look like you're going to fall asleep on me.